at Kempton in the Easter Stakes, and that was a very impressive performance. There was very heavy backing for him yesterday when the possibility of Leicester riding him became apparent, and as long as the ground is soft enough for him, he has a major chance, there's no doubt about that. Drawn 17 over towards that far side, a lot of the fancied horses over on the far side, but the ground just might not be soft enough. It's squally here, but very windy as well, and it's just perfect ground. Leicester won the race 3 times. Here's Pat Ellery walking towards us in the Sangster colours on Achieved, who's a horse who's done precious little wrong. Achieved, he never does anything very impressively, but then his full brother Final Straw never did either. He won all 3 races last year, including the Champagne Stakes, when Full Extent trailed behind him. But this year he got beat first time out by Killer, which is disappointing because Killer ran badly, but he then won last time, not very impressively, but he did win. Never does much more than enough. He'll be very fit, and I can give him a major chance. He's drawn 10 in the middle of the field. Pat has been second in the Guineas twice, but never yet won it. And there is Full Extent, the great Northern challenger, trained near Barnsley by Steve Norton, who's built up a tremendous team there. And this horse has come really good last year. He won the Gimcrack Stakes for the North, and then hurt himself, chipped a bone in his leg, didn't reappear until the Timeform Racecard Stakes at Thirsk, very impressively. Now, he wasn't particularly wound up that day, but he still went to the front as he normally does. That's his normal tactics. Went to the front and was always going to win, really. And John Lowe was looking after him. He's a horse who stands plenty of driving, and he didn't really get a particularly hard race here at all. He was always in command. I wouldn't have thought those against him were really that brilliant, but he still is going to collect well enough. And as you see, going towards the line, he wins handily, really, rather than that impressively. And if they go to the line, well, I think he's still got plenty of improvement in him. You see John Lowe very much looking after the horse as they go up towards the finish. There is the Hopes of the North, and I think he'll go pretty close. Drawn, as you heard, out 22 out on that far side as well. And here is Wyndham Wuthering, one of the difficult horses of the race. On last year's form in the Dewhurst Stakes, he was in the most tremendous form. He won that really most impressively, then ran terribly badly in the Greenham Stakes, never firing at all. So when we talked to Henry Cannon, we asked him how disappointed he was with that first run. Pretty fit, and as they walk past underneath me, out of your eye line, I have to tell you that Silver Hawk is sweating a lot, really. He's really sweating up quite a lot, and the danger of his nerves tightening on him are quite severe, I would have to think. But let's just hope that when he goes to canter down, it'll calm him. Let's do some more betting.
Silver Hawk, the 92 favourite, Achieved is 7-1. Wyndham Wuthering and Zino both at 8. Hayes and Tender King at 10-1. Rare Gift and Full Extent both at 12s. Montekin has gone to 16-1 from 20-1. NIOULARGO has gone out to 20s from 16s. MIRABEAU and Rebellino and DARA MONARCH are all at 25-1. MACMILLION at 33s. Wong Choi has gone to 40-1 from 33-1. Prima Voce, Come On the Blues, and Vincent BENET all at 50s, and they go 66s bar that lot.
And we welcome viewers from Channel 7 in Australia as the 26 runners for the 2,000 guineas come out onto the racecourse, the Rolling Mile here at Newmarket, with the long, straight mile in front of them. The horse we're looking at is Tender King, ridden by the great French champion Yves Saint-Martin, and a horse of considerable ability, but might not quite last the trip. Bound to be thereabouts, second in the Greenham Stakes, 10-1 as you see, and looked a little bit unlucky that day, but likes to come late. Yves Saint-Martin, French champion, but has won this 2,000 guineas with Nono Alco in the past. We parade for this race. You see the huge open expanses of Newmarket Heath, perhaps the largest area of tended grassland in the whole world. It's a stormy day, but there's perfect ground. And we have one non-runner. Cajun is a non-runner, so it leaves 26 to face the starter, which is some team. Now that is Hayes, who's a major contender up from Sussex. Hayes, who last year looked a pretty good horse. He's held by Achieved on the Champagne Stakes running. He went very badly here at the end of the season, but that could be forgiven. And first time out this year, he won the 2,000 Guineas trial at Salisbury in impressive fashion. A good horse with a perfectly good chance, and drawn 26, that's right over on the far side where a lot of the leading fancies come from. Only snag about him is that his stable companion Sandhurst Prince was always thought to be better than him, and Sandhurst Prince hasn't come through his training, and so this to some extent is the stable second string. He also grazed a knee a fortnight ago, so there must be a slight query about his condition. And there is Vincent Bennett. I'm tempted to say Vincent Bennett, but it is actually called Vincent Bennett, who's an outsider with a possible chance. He won a couple of races last year, minor ones, but then he finished third in the Blue Ribbon Trial at Epsom and finished very close to a horse called Count Parlin that day, who after all is a major fancy for the Derby. If Count Parlin's a Derby winner, this horse should nearly win the Guineas. An outsider, but one without a chance. Not without a chance. Drawn 11, that's right in the centre of the field. A first classic runner for young trainer Mark Tompkins. And there is Boldfort, who's a big outsider, which one would have thought is pretty impossible for him to collect. He did win 3 races last year, but over shorter distances than this. He's a free runner, though. 100 to 1 reflects his chance. He's drawn 14 and likely to lead him, as long as he jumps, he's likely to lead him along with Full Extent, Wyndham Wuthering and MACMILLION. That's probably the thrust of the pace early on. Come on, the Blues walking through there, followed by Cornish Gem. And then will be DARA and Monarch. Now there is Silverhawk, the favourite, who is clearly having a problem. He's sweating a lot, you can't see that, but he is sweating a lot as well, and the dangers of him fretting away his nervous energy are clearly acute. 9-2 favourite at the moment. Tony Murray will be really hoping that he can be released soon from this parade to hack down, and that of course will let the horse's tension go, but this tension will be draining the energy away from him. And it's a very worrying sight for those of us who supported Silverhawk. There goes a rare gift through with Lester Piggott, followed by Robolino down from the north with Eddie Hyde, who's got a good chance, ran very well in the free handicap, which looks to be good form. Then Regent Ledger, and then Rockamador, who is ridden by Walter Swinburne. But this, one of the great betting races, is one of the great classic races of the year. Let's take in our betting man, John McCreary.
So if you...
Regent Leisure, who's having looking to be a pretty overexcited first classic ride for young Steve Dawson. He's 100 to 1 outsider, which he has to be because he was third in the bad race on Monday. And he is going very free to the start. A bit of a nightmare for young Steve here. Let's hope he can get the anchors on him soon, because what he wants is to get safely to the start, because he certainly won't be concerned, I'm afraid, in the finish. But if he gets going, it's a big open space here at Newmarket, and Cambridge are probably next stop. The stalls are right across the track, so I just hope he doesn't go into them. It will be a bit of a nightmare. There is a Cornish Gem, who's a possible outsider. Ran very well here, finished second to City Stephen. Was third to Hayes, first time out this year. Big outsider, Cornish Gem, but has run well here on this track. But just wouldn't have thought was the class on all evidence so far. Hayes, who you've seen walking in there. MACMILLION out the back, you saw for a moment. Wyndham Wuthering 7 to 1 from Eights. He's the horse who has to burst. That's MACMILLION you saw who passed there. And that was Montekin who walked in. There's Achieved. And Achieved with Pat Every on board. And here he is. Let's hope he's going to stop when he sees the stalls, because he'll come out like a mincer if he has. He's all right. Well, that'll be a great relief for Steve Dawson and the connections of Regent Leisure. Silverhawk, of course, is the big worry. He was really fretted up. There's no doubt whatever, very fretted up. There's Final Strike, who's a big outsider, really. Hasn't got any great chance. He was fifth to Hayes at Salisbury, and he won a couple of races last year, but on the book he hasn't got any great chance. That's why he's 80 to 1. Driven by George Duffield, yet to ride a classic winner, but is a very successful jockey. The horse is milling round here before they get loaded. They'll go round the back. to load. There are some countries, as you know, where they load by backing in through the stalls, but here we lead through. And that's an interesting outsider. MIRABEAU ran a very good race in the free handicap, always a competitive race, often turns up the Guineas winner. He's 20 to 1. He was 33s yesterday, ridden by Bryn Crossley, the apprentice at the moment. He won an easy race first time out, beating Tender King that day, and he ran a very good race third in the free handicap. Decent horse, and not without a chance. Drawn 5. He's one of the horses near Silverhawk. Silverhawk will hope carries him a bit, because he might well get stranded. So at the moment, one has to say events rather against the favourite.
Achieved, Wind of Wuthering and Zino all 7 to 1. Hayes and Tender King at 10s. Rare Gift and Full Extent both at 12 to 1. Montekin 16s. NIOULARGO and MIRABEAU both at 20s. Rebellino 25 to 1 and DARA Monarch also 25 to 1 from 33s. MACMILLION 33 to 1. Wong Choi at 40s. Prima Voce and Come on the Blues both at 50 to 1. 66 to 1 Bardo.
Over him, drawn 27 out on the far side. 13 is NIOULARGO, who you saw run really well behind Silverhawk. Finished right up close behind him, finished second, but he's got a length and a half to find. A horse of improving promise. He won his last 3 last year, and a perfectly viable outsider at 20 to 1. Montekin is through there. Behind is DARA Monarch. You heard the big bet there, £600 to 50,000 or something at 33 to 1. He's a horse, it's hard to tell really. He's won his only race this year at Fairy House. He did win a race in Ireland last year as well. Wouldn't appear the form to be good enough, but he's considered pretty highly in Ireland, and they can collect here. Now here's a horse who's likely to make the running, because he does pull like a train and really jumps and runs. He's got to the start safely, which is one thing. He's drawn 18, so again the thruster pace over on the far side, and he's not a remote contender really. He finished right up by Tender King in the Greenham Stakes, so he should finish where Tender King finishes, and 40 to 1 is a reasonable price for him. More betting?
For the Guineas, almost a record-sized field, in fact. All in, you hear the start of Nick Smalley say, and away they go in the 2,000 Guineas. And very quickly out towards the outside for France was Zino. But going with him is Wind and Wuthering, and right behind those two, MACMILLION. And close up for the north is Full Extent. Then comes Bold Fort. Behind him also for Ireland is DARA Monarch. Leicester's going well on Rare Gift, and then comes NIOULARGO. But as you see, they've split into 2 groups. And leading the far side group at the moment is Wind and Wuthering, followed by Zino and Full Extent, while over on the near side it's Wong Choi and very prominent Silly Season and MIRABEAU, and right after these Rebellino, and after Rebellino comes Steel Bay. The favourite Silverhawk is quite well placed, but last at the moment for Ireland is Royal Rendezvous. Come on the Blues is badly placed as well, but coming on now down towards the halfway stage in the 2,000 Guineas, 2 distinct groups of runners in this big field. Back to Graham Goad in the grandstand.
And to the left of the picture, it's Wind and Wuthering, Zino and Full Extent, and on the near side, Vincent Bennett showing good speed, and on the near side rail, Silverhawk trying to come with a run. Silly Stephen is also up with the leaders on the near side, and so too is Wong Choi. And it's the far side that have the advantage, with just over 3 furlongs to go. And it's Zino, Wind and Wuthering from DARA Monarch, who's finishing strongly. 2.5 furlongs to go in the 2,000 Guineas. Wind and Wuthering and Zino and DARA Monarch, then Rebellino coming down the centre of the track. Wind and Wuthering in the lead. Wind and Wuthering from Zino, the French challenger. Zino and Wind and Wuthering with Tender Heart finishing. Tender King finishing very fast, coming inside the final furlong. Zino has the advantage from Wind and Wuthering. Wind and Wuthering and Zino from Tender King, going well inside the final furlong. Wind and Wuthering, Zino. Tender King well clear from finishing very fast. Rockamador, then they go towards the line. It's Zino just has the advantage. A photograph finish. Zino, Wind and Wuthering, Tender King, Rockamador. Then Silverhawk had achieved in final strike, and DARA Monarch, then Rebellino. Then comes Montekin, Wong Choi. The back markers include MIRABEAU, and the last horse to finish was Regent Ledger. So the 2,000 Guineas has gone to a photograph. A photograph for me between the French train Zino, number 30, and Wind and Wuthering, number 28. Zino is owned by Mr. Jerry Oldham, trained in France by Francois Boutin, and ridden by Freddie Hebb. Perhaps Freddie has collected this, his first English classic, because he's in a photo with number 28, Wind and Wuthering, owned by Mr. R.M. and C.A. Kaiser, trained at Wantage by Henry Candy and ridden by Steve Cawthon. These two virtually had it between them for the final quarter mile. But in fact, we have some news on the betting now in the photograph.
Called Zino has won it, so it's a moment of tremendous triumph for Freddie Head and for his trainer Francois Boutard, who won this race 2 years ago and lost it in the stewards' room afterwards with Nureyev. And there's no reason to think anything like that will happen today, because France has won the 2,000 guineas with Zino.
Francois Boutard won the 2,000 guineas back in 1974 with NIOULARGO, but there is Freddie Head. In fact, it's his first winner in England since 1974. But quick confirmation then of this, the first